The 49ers got good news and bad news when it comes to their wide receivers. And one insider says things could look very different at the position next season. Don't know if we're live yet.
Yes, it's scheduled.
Yeah, I know. All right, let's try again. Great job, StreamYard. The 49ers have gone through some weird things at wide receiver. They got a little good news and a little bad news. Plus, their biggest insider says things could look very different at the position next season. What is good, everybody? Welcome to another Gold Standard podcast, part of the Pro Football Insiders. Astute viewers will know I am not Jason Aponte. I'm filling in for Jay alongside Steph Sanchez. You're going to have to grin and bear it today, Steph.
I guess. I could accept 1 week, I guess, but I mean, I'll take it.
I'm grateful to Jay for letting me pinch hit here. He should be back next week. Weird stuff is happening with the 49ers all around. They got blown out by the Rams, which, as Jay likes to point out, they never do. They had no injuries from the game, Steph. Even yesterday on Kyle's conference call, even he was like, I can't believe it. No one else is hurt.
That's good news, right? I mean, we'll take any good news that we can get. And while that doesn't seem very big, like, for the 49ers, yes, it is big, especially when like the week prior you had 3 players getting hurt in Thursday's practice. Like there's just the 49ers can't step onto any field without getting hurt, but they did it in week 10. That feels like a big win, even after the big loss that they suffered against the Rams.
It is weird because like for the first time, they actually have a chance to get stronger, right? Normally it was whenever somebody would come back, they would lose somebody else in a different spot. And it's like for the first time, they may get Brock Purdy back, which we'll talk about. They may get Ricky Pearsall back, which we're going to talk about as well. So it's sort of a weird situation right now. It took 10 weeks, but we might actually have the 49ers just get stronger from 1 week to the next, which is like the complete opposite, because normally it was like the Niners win, but they suffer a big injury. Now it's the Niners lose big, but they're getting people back.
And I feel like it's the defense who probably need more guys coming back, but unfortunately that's where they have a lot of the season-ending injuries that we know of, and those guys are not walking through the door anytime soon this season, of course, as we know. But I think the offense getting some reinforcements could be big because we've been saying it all season, and then, more guys get hurt, and then we reiterate it that the offense needs to carry this defense, and it hasn't been more true than it is now, and it was true on Sunday, but, the offense got off to a bit of a slow start, and I think that ultimately hurt them having the chances to carry the defense in that game. Now, could be a different story going into this next game against the Cardinals. And if you could have even just Ricky Pearsall back, I feel like that would be a big boost. To say what you want about the difference between Mac Jones and Brock Purdy, I think both of those guys can operate this offense as it needs to. So, honestly, I don't know how much of a boost like Brock Purdy would provide at this point. But Ricky Pearsall coming back would be big.
The Soda Report says, hey, Rob and Steph, I've been listening for 3 years now, just usually can't make lives. Wanted to say thank you for all the great content. Thank you. We appreciate that. I will say this. I went back today because I had that kind of time and just rewatched the Jacksonville game. Ricky Pearsall is freaking awesome, man. Remember that deep ball that Brock threw him, the underthrown ball where he stops and comes back and catches it with one arm as he's falling to the ground? Like, he is so damn good. I completely agree with what you said. Brock and Mac, what we're all hoping for when Brock gets back is that he puts up the same numbers that Mac Jones put up, right? Well, Ricky Pearsall is going to put up way better numbers than Juwan Jennings put up. And outside of 2 games, way better numbers than Kendrick Bourne put up.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think he's the type of wide receiver that could be a quarterback's best friend, right? Just because he's so dependable, you can throw him the ball, and he has a crazy catch radius as well. So I think that's someone quarterbacks, whether it's Brock, whether it's Max, going to be looking for. And yeah, it should provide this offense a boost. I haven't been a huge fan of people, say negative things about Ricky Pearsall and, he was a mistake and all this and that. I understand he's been hurt and we're very frustrated about how long he's been hurt with this knee injury this season. The reason that he missed time last season, like he got shot, like you can't do anything about that. I'm sorry. But I feel like the 49ers did hit this one, but again, as we say with all, players, you do have to be available to be appreciated. And so hopefully Ricky Pearsall can finish this season out and he can continue to remind people why the 49ers picked him in the first place. It's because he's pretty damn good.
It is so funny how the perception of Pearsall changed from when he was first drafted. What did people say? Luxury pick, right? And then last year we were like, damn, we really need Ricky Pearsall. I can't believe he got shot and then he needed him to come back. And people are like, wow, this guy's pretty good. And then this year we were like, thank God Ricky Pearsall's here because we don't have anybody else in this wide receiver core. And then of course he goes down and we've been piecing it together with scotch tape and super glue. And now we're all waiting for him to come back. And I feel like the Niners kind of did Ricky a disservice a little bit, Steph, because they kept making it seem like any week now he's going to come back. He's got a shot. Right? He's got a chance. And so when it was not practicing, it was like he was getting re-injured every week. And fans were like, oh, F that guy. He's made out of glass. It's like, no, it's still the one injury. It's just taking a long time. Whereas if they had put him on IR right away, I feel like the reaction to Ricky wouldn't be what it is.
And I think it's actually fair to give the training staff more of a side eye than Ricky Pearsall, because to me, like, this whole timeline thing has been a bit of a theme this season. Like, and not just that of, kind of sketchy timelines, but also when guys are expected back, they do come back and then they re-aggravate. Like Yetra Gross Matos, like that one is crazy as well, right? So there's just a lot of weird things happening and the way that they communicate injuries. And I have to imagine Kyle Shanahan is just relaying what he's been told, and then it doesn't end up happening. I that's a reflection to me on the staff or whoever he's hearing these timelines from. That's a huge red flag to me. And so I think it all comes back to that and hoping that the 49ers do address that in the offseason, because whoever's giving him these timelines is making him look stupid up in the podium week in and week out. And if I'm Kyle Shanahan, I would not be happy about that. And it's making his players look bad too, because, to your point, people are blaming it on the player and, him being made of glass. Kyle Shanahan has said, like, Ricky Pearsall has not had any setbacks. It's just taking longer than they expected. Well, why is that? Why did you expect it to not be as long as it's taken, right? So that brings up that question of something is off. Something is off with the timelines and just how it's been communicated. You could say similar things, I think, about the Brock Purdy situation. You could say similar things certainly about the Brandon Aiyuk situation, because that one went from maybe week 6 to week 10 to now we're going into week 11 and his practice window is still not open. So again, it's been a theme for the 49ers. And I think it's more of an issue with wherever they're getting this information from.
I completely agree with you. And Kyle hates it. He hates when he says something about injuries. And then when it doesn't come true, people are like, hey, Kyle, remember when you said this thing about injuries? And I think Kyle's kind of stance on all this is like, hey, I'm just relaying what I have been told, because he's like, I'm not a doctor or whatever. But you're right. It does make him look stupid. It makes the whole organization look stupid. It's embarrassing how they never seem to get it right. And then guys come back and they're immediately injured again. I mean, Jacob Cowing even thinks about playing football and his hamstring pops. I mean, it's all over the roster.
God, we forgot about that one, didn't we? So that one went under the radar. He was supposed to come back after 6 weeks, around week 6. And then nobody asked about him for like several weeks after that. And then I think it was Matt Barrows or Matt Mayoko, one of the Matts, did say that anytime that he's trying to get back to Jacob Cowing's speeds, he ends up re-aggravating that hamstring again. That one, Rob, might be a Jacob Cowing issue. But in any case, I think we do still have to question this training staff a little bit, because the re-aggravating thing also has been a theme. So maybe it isn't always on the player. And it could be a lot of different factors. But yeah, it just does make me feel good. And I have to imagine, Kyle Shanahan's probably losing some patience with it as well.
And it's completely understandable, because like you said, he's the one up there that has to answer the questions, and he's the one out there that gets called out when what he says doesn't come to pass. But I am looking forward to Ricky Pearsall getting back this week. I was super high on Ricky ever since I saw him play last year. I was like, I think this guy can be really good. I think he fits really well in the offense, and everything that we saw this year from him. I mean, he was cooking week in and week out. Please come back, Ricky. Please. I hope he's healthy. I hope he can contribute, because I think, like you said, this offense needs to squeeze all the juice they can from the orange, and he's certainly going to make that easier if he gets back there and he can return to performance, as Stefania Bell once told you.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite quotes of hers, right? Return to play does not equal return to performance, but with as long as he's been out, you hope that just means they're trying to get him to 100%. I mean, they're kind of saying the same thing about Brock Purdy. Like, we want him to be as close to 100% or at 100% when we finally put him out there. So maybe it's similar with Ricky Pearsall, but we've been very patient to this point. But yeah, this is an offense that could use all the help it could get in order to score more points. And I feel like they're heading towards a direction of being more complementary on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, the run blocking has been better for the last few weeks. No coincidence. It started really happening when George Kittle came back. And so now you're getting a little bit more balanced on offense. And I think you need that going forward. I know it wasn't the strongest day on the ground on Sunday, but even still, I think if they could kind of carry that momentum, who knows? Maybe it'll make the job a little bit easier for the defense as well, because you're not starting the game with a 3-and-out, a turnover, and a punt. That just puts your defense that's already in a very bad situation in bad field position, and you're just not helping them out. So yeah, anything the offense could do to help the defense will be much appreciated from this team.
I want to get to the Brandon Aiyuk stuff in a second, but you mentioned the running game. I actually saw an interesting tweet, and I apologize. I don't know how this is going to look on the vertical stream. We are doing two different streams right now on YouTube, landscape and a vertical stream. It's a brand new feature that StreamYard just added, so we're trying it out. We're trying to get the kinks out, so I apologize if it's not perfect yet. I will read the tweet, but Jose Sanchez tweeted, when running inside the tackles, Christian McCaffrey is averaging 4.6 yards per carry on 81 rushes, plus 6.4 EPA, 3 touchdowns, and 9 runs of 10-plus yards. When Christian McCaffrey runs outside the tackles, he's averaging just 2.6 yards per carry on 99 rushes, negative 37.3 EPA, 1 touchdown, and 7 runs of 10-plus yards. I don't know about you, Steph. I don't remember any of Christian McCaffrey's runs of 10-plus yards outside the tackles. It feels like the blocking for him on those plays has been horrible. It never works. It's been incredibly frustrating to watch, but just those two differences really stuck out to me.
Yeah, they do. And yeah, I think for the first half of the season, a lot of that did have to do with George Kittle. And I got to be honest, the Luke Farrell thing, we were sold on this idea of Luke Farrell being one of the best blocking tight ends available as a free agent when the 49ers signed him. And I feel like we just have yet to see that. Like, this was just one big fluke signing for the 49ers. It just hasn't worked out. They also hyped him up as a pass catcher. I get he had a touchdown on Sunday, but
yeah, he was uncovered.
We've seen more from Jake Tunges as a pass catcher than we've seen from Luke Farrell. I'm not thrilled about that signing. Maybe that's part of it. I think also the wide receiver blocking hasn't always been the greatest or the most consistent, this season as well. So that could also be part of it. I mean, you went from having some of the best blocking wide receivers in Aiyuk, in Deebo Samuel. Even Juwan Jennings last year was a much better run blocker than he has shown this season. So I think all those things can contribute to those outside runs, which is, has been the bread and butter of the 49ers run game struggling. So I guess it's no surprise to see that the run game has gotten off to a slow start this season. But I mean, you got to just go with what works, right? So if that's more inside runs, you go with that. Maybe that's why we're also seeing more Brian Robinson, who's been doing great in that area as well. Short yardage situations, red zone situations. I mean, keep using him as well, just to spell Christian McCaffrey, keep him fresh. And I mean, Brian Robinson can bulldoze a couple of defenders while he's at it, get some extra yardage, and you could always use that.
Christian McCaffrey had 12 carries on Sunday against the Rams. Brian Robinson Jr. had 8. That is as close to a 50-50 split as we have ever seen in the Kyle Shanahan era with Christian McCaffrey. Now, look, they were down 21-0 right out of the gate. So that, they got to pass the ball. So that limits how much they can run on the ground. But it was interesting, especially the first drive of the second half, Steph. That was like the Brian Robinson drive. They kept Christian McCaffrey on the sideline, and they were moving the ball down the field just fine.
They were, and that's the thing. If it's working, you keep doing it, right? So hopefully we continue to see that going forward, just to mix some things up a little bit. And, if the run blocking continues to improve as the season progresses as well, then you could really have a consistent run game to get more of this pass game going, maybe some play action, things like that. More consistency overall. You need to score more points. That's the biggest thing. So that's why I like the Brian Robinson involvement in the red zone, especially because they could move the ball. That hasn't really been an issue for them this season, even last season, but it's when they get into the red zone that they just have to score those 6 points.
Absolutely. And you can't get your PATs blocked either.
Yeah, that would help too.
Special teams has been good, but that was a bummer in that game Sunday as well, because you were like, oh, do we really need to make it that much harder to have, to get the touchdown and the 2-point conversion? But nonetheless, we'll see what the offense can do moving forward. So the Ricky Pearsall stuff was the good news at wide receiver. Kyle Shanahan even used the word should. He should be back at practice tomorrow. So we'll all wait and see. But that is the very good news because of how good he has been and how desperately they need him. We'll get to the bad news, which is Brandon Aiyuk, in a second. But first, Steph, I just want to give a shout out to Sleeper. Thank you, Sleeper, for hopping into the stream this year. We're thrilled to have you as a partner. And you and Jay told me when I told you guys about it, you were like, Sleeper's awesome. Their app is awesome. We use it for everything. I had no idea. Didn't realize how good the app was. Didn't realize that it's not just picks. It's also news. You can literally get news updates right on the Sleeper app. I absolutely love it. I've been blown away by it. I'm probably going to switch my fantasy league next year to Sleeper now that I've seen what it is, because the other one that I'm using is not any good. And if you check out Sleeper, I promise you'll like what you see. And if you sign up, you'll get a free $20 entry. You don't have to deposit any money. You'll get a free $20 entry if you sign up. And if you do want to deposit, use our code GSP. You get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. And it's very easy. You just pick higher or lower on all the different stats they have on the website. You got to pick people from 2 different teams. That's the one stipulation. But don't worry. Michelle and I give you our picks every Friday. So we make it real simple for you. We've hit on almost 70% this year. So come and do it, and you could win up to 1,000 times your money. Who doesn't like that? So use our code GSP. Again, terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. All right, Steph, let's get into the bad when it comes to 49ers wide receivers. And that, of course, is Brandon Aiyuk. Not practicing. Again, despite being real close. Despite having a chance, despite, there were mumblings before the season started that he could be back week 1. Then it was week 6. Now it's week 10. Going into 11, I have continued to say, I don't think we ever see Brandon Aiyuk on the field for the 49ers again.
Look, I think the next plausible date that I would give it is after the bye week, right? That's, week 15, you're playing the Titans. It's an easy game you can kind of ease them into, right? And so if it doesn't happen then I would imagine he does not play this season. Now, that, of course, brings up the question that you just said and a lot of people have been asking And so I'm assuming he's not going to play again for the 49ers if he does not suit up this season. Like, is that really the end game for them? That the reason he hasn't stepped foot onto the field? Well, we've seen him on the field, the practice field, but they haven't opened up his practice window. So there's only so much that he could do right now. It's only limited to his rehab work and all that. So if he does not practice, then I think we have to imagine maybe they're looking at trading him. I mean, that's the only plausible thing, right? That they're looking to trade him. My thing is, Rob, and I've said this before in previous episodes, that to me it doesn't make a whole lot of sense I get from the injury risk perspective, but if I'm a team who is looking for a wide receiver and there's other options out there, I'm not looking at Brandon Aiyuk, who's coming off a big knee injury. He injured more than just his ACL, wasn't his PCL as well?
All the LCL, all the CLs.
All the CLs. That's not good. And I don't have the reassurance of having seen him back from this injury to know that he's going to be fine. I'm taking the 49ers word for it. I'm taking Brandon Aiyuk and his agent's word for it. Ergo, I'm not giving up anything more than, let's just say, a 5th round pick or something like that. Like, do the 49ers even do that? Because remember, the 49ers are notorious for overvaluing their players. And let's not forget, he has a big $sign amount attached to his name with this big contract that they gave him. So that just adds, I think, more complication to all this. It's not the easiest contract to just trade away. That it doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Nothing that has happened with Brandon Aiyuk makes any sense since he signed, since 2023 ended. Quite frankly, nothing has made sense. They didn't want to pay him. They were going to trade him. They had reached deals to trade him, and then all of a sudden, not only do they not trade him, they give him a massive contract, and the second the ink dries on the contract, they instantly regret it, and they spend all of last season and all of this season telling everybody how much they regret it. They tried to trade him this offseason. They were willing to give him away for a bag of cats, and nobody wanted him. And that's what I think they're going to do this year, Steph. I don't think they care. I don't think they say, well, if we put Brandon Aiyuk on the field, we'll probably get more for him in a trade if he looks good. I think they're like, we don't care if we take pennies on the dollar. We do not want to pay this contract. We want him off the team. We'll give up we'll get like a 7th round pick for him. We don't care. They have broadcasted from the mountaintops how much they hate that deal and want to get rid of it. And I think that is exactly what they are doing. They are biding their time, and here's what it'll go. It'll go like this. Niners are shopping Brandon Aiyuk. He could have come back last year, but the Niners didn't want to, risk it. He wanted to get totally 100% healthy. He's 100% healthy now. He's been working hard this offseason. He's ready to go. I think that's honestly what's going to happen.
Can I just say something?
Yes.
The 49ers are stupid. Like, why did they sign him to this contract and then immediately regret it openly, share that they regretted it, and now they're doing this whole song and dance with, not having him practice in the hopes that, and again, these are assumptions, right? But we're reading some tea leaves here. We're just assuming that he's not going to suit up because they want to trade him this offseason. So why would they do this? Like, it doesn't make sense in my opinion, because of their stupidity. They made their bed, and if they're forced to lay in it, they have no one to blame but themselves. So I know that Matt Mayoko had a quote. I believe he joined Larry Krueger on his show. And Matt Mayoko said, quote, if you look at the 49ers wide receivers right now, the only 2 guys that I could say they'll definitely be on the team next season, one is Ricky Pearsall, the other is Jordan Watkins. That's it. That's really it. I mean, if you think about it, that makes sense. Juwan Jennings, he's out the door. We know that. Jacob Cowan, like, he can't even get healthy enough to practice. And then, who else is there, right? Brandon Aiyuk, Kendrick Bourne, but we know he's probably gone after this season as well.
Yep.
So, but the big thing, obviously, with this quote is, well, where's Brandon Aiyuk in all of this? The guy that they paid a massive contract to just a season ago, he's obviously insinuating that he doesn't even know for sure that Brandon Aiyuk is going to be on this roster. I think that's a big deal. That to me makes it seem like, okay, we're not just speculating here. There is something to this if even Matt Maiocco is saying this.
I don't know off the top of my head. Is Demarcus Robinson's contract a multi-year deal? I can't remember what they signed.
I feel like it was. I feel like it was
like all of a sudden Sky Moore.
It was a 2-year deal.
Okay, so in theory, you would think Demarcus Robinson would be there. Pearsall would be there. Jordan Watkins, as we said. Jacob Cowing, if he's alive, although who the hell knows at this point. I mean, wide receiver, we went from saying Ricky Pearsall was a luxury pick when he was drafted 2 years ago to now it's like wide receiver is going to be a need for them going into this offseason.
And that's not a good thing, Rob, because they already have so many other needs. I mean, you look at this team and you think, can we get some more pass rushers, especially when you're going to have 2 of your top pass rushers coming off ACLs? Mm-hmm. Like, you need more. You need to draft more. And I don't know. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but the whole injury to the Nick Bosa thing, I think muddies the water with whether or not the 49ers want to keep him or how much longer they want to keep him as well. So you need edge rushers and you need wide receivers. If you want a good one, you usually got to pick them pretty high, both, and so how do you prioritize that? And then this all comes along with the fact that 49er fans are always clamoring for a tackle, get a tackle in the first round. My goodness. Well, okay, now you have all these needs that you have to think about. So in my opinion, like I feel like wide receiver shouldn't be a need, but the 49ers are making it so it is. That's bad.
It's sometimes the politics with this roster really, I just don't understand the handling and how they do things and what they're planning to do. It doesn't seem logical to me. And I think they make plans and then they change the plans quickly. And I just, sometimes it makes me think that they are just constantly scrambling. But Steph, I will say this. Right now, the 49ers have a first round pick, a second round pick, a third round pick. They traded for Bryce. They traded for Bryce Huff, either a 5th round pick, but it could become a 4th round pick. So whatever that deal ends up becoming, let's say right now they end up giving up a 5th. So the Niners would have a 1, 2, a 3, and a 4. Then they are expecting to get, I think, 3 conditional 4th round picks, which come at the end of the round. And then I believe they have a conditional 7th round pick from the Patriots. Not exactly a super impressive draft haul, but if you do trade Brandon Aiyuk, you're going to get some picks for him, whatever they may be. Maybe you get a 5th round pick. Who knows? And then the question becomes, do you trade Mac Jones in the offseason? Because I think you could do a deal for Mac Jones where it's a 3rd round pick, but maybe it becomes a 2nd round pick. And now all of a sudden the Niners have 2 1s, maybe 2 2s, maybe an extra 3rd round pick, whatever they get for Aiyuk, plus those 4th round picks I mentioned. And all of a sudden, you do have a nice little war chest there.
This is interesting, yeah, because I have no doubt the 49ers are always thinking of ways that they can maximize picks and get more. I think that's why they didn't do a trade at the deadline day, because they didn't want to give up more than they already had. Like, they're kind of looking towards 2026. So, and this quote from Matt Maiocco, he thinks, and he does say it's his opinion, Mac Jones will be the backup for the 49ers in the 2026 season. He thinks because the compensation won't be as valuable as him being QB2, which is interesting because, I think what Mac Jones has done so far, and we have to also give the context of the 49ers, how Sam Darnold looked after his stint with the 49ers, like that, very positive what he's doing now for the Seahawks. Like, I think all of that is important context. I think teams would give up at least a second for Mac Jones after this season is over. That's what I think, because there's going to be some quarterback needy teams. And Mac Jones looks great. And not only that, he looks and there's something about him that's more mature now. Like, he looks like a franchise guy, and so I think teams would be willing to give up at least a second for him after the season is over. And who knows if there's a bidding war, maybe even higher than that. You just never know. But this is interesting, right? The 49ers made this trade for Mac Jones made this move as a free agent to pick up Mac Jones, thinking like, Brock Purdy sometimes gets banged up. Like, we do need a strong QB2 option. And if he does play, or if he has to finish some games here and there, he gets to showcase himself and grow as a quarterback, all these things. It's a win-win for the 49ers. But now it's week we're going into week 11, and he's now started 8 games for the 49ers this season. They'd be in a world of hurt without him. And again, like, it kind of brings up that same thing. Brock Purdy has missed all this time. Is Brock Purdy becoming the type of quarterback that we used to look at Jimmy Garoppolo as? A guy that's not as, you can't depend on his availability as much. And so you feel like you really need a strong QB2. In that sense, in order to keep you afloat, the value of Mac Jones to the 49ers is pretty high, So I can see it from that side as well. Like, unfortunately, with the Brock Purdy thing, it's not only increased Jones's value for other teams, but for the 49ers too. So that might be the one thing that would keep them from trading him. And maybe they just wait till he's a free agent after the 2 years are over and they get a 3rd round comp pick back. I mean, honestly, that's not bad either. You just have to wait a little bit longer for that return.
Yeah, that is the big question, is what is the value of Mac Jones to other people around the league? And then what is the value of Mac Jones to the 49ers? And what confidence do they have in Brock Purdy to be able to actually get out there and stay out there? I'm trying to look at something really quick, because you could make the argument, possibly, that with Kyle Shanahan, you should just rotate your backup quarterback all the time, right? Just find the latest reclamation project and have that person be your backup quarterback. Like, there's always a Mac Jones type of guy, right? A highly drafted quarterback or a guy with some physical skills that for whatever reason just doesn't work out with the team that's drafted him. And can you use that Kyle Shanahan ability to somehow squeeze the juice from the orange to just get your backup quarterback, rehab him for a year, ship him out, keep the draft picks, and just keep cycling through?
Yeah, I mean, that's also a possibility, I think, for the 49ers. And, they have options, right? But I'm not thrilled with how many draft picks they have going into 2026 with all of the needs that I think we can see that they very clearly have as well. So do we think the 49ers are going to be aggressive in free agency? I don't know, because just a season ago, they were very frugal and were telling everyone we're not paying. They told Devontae Adams we're paying wholesale. That looks silly in hindsight, right? So I don't know if they're going to be this team that's looking to build through the draft. Look, 2025, I thought was a pretty good draft for them. But we're not seeing, I think, the amount of growth from these rookies, because the other complementary pieces on the defense that you would have aren't there to support them and build them up. Look at D Winters after Fred Warner went down.
Mm-hmm.
He looks awful now. I mean, and that has a lot to do with Fred Warner being out there. A lot of things kind of fell apart after Fred has gone down, right? And so you just don't have the same support system on that side of the ball. And so it kind of feels like your rookies are left out to dry. And so maybe next year you're in a better position with some of those guys, veterans, coming back. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you could depend on, another strong draft class to say, hey, we're a Super Bowl team suddenly after 2026. I think it also, the 49ers have to hit on all of those picks in 2026. I think they've been better, since Peters has left, but still, we do know the draft is a crapshoot, so who knows what could happen.
The more pick, that's why you need more picks, because you're going to screw some of them up. That's just the nature of the thing. Let me just run through some names that are potential free agent quarterbacks next year, Steph. Real quick, you give me a yay or nay as to whether or not you think you could see them with the 49ers if they did, in fact, trade Mac Jones. Daniel Jones is probably not getting away from the Colts, so we'll take him out of it. Aaron Rodgers, he's not going to be a backup, so forget that. Would you want Russell Wilson?
No.
Marcus Mariota?
I mean, no, I think that's just not what the 49ers would be looking for. I think the 49ers have started to look towards young quarterbacks. Hasn't worked out with their team, and you can help build them up. I just don't think Mariota is that kind of guy.
There is the name right below Mariota on the list, Steph.
No, because Zach Wilson is awful.
Yeah, you say that, except so is Sam Darnold, and Kyle brought him in. Why? Because Kyle loved him coming out in the draft. And you know who the quarterback Kyle loved more than any other in 2021 when they came out? It wasn't Trey Lance. It wasn't Mac Jones. It was Zach Wilson. Everything I heard was that Zach Wilson was really the guy Kyle liked the most. I could easily, plus he's played with Miami in the McDaniel system, so it wouldn't be that huge of an adjustment. I could easily see the 49ers signing Zach Wilson and doing the exact same thing they did with Darnold and with Mac Jones.
I mean, I could see. I just wouldn't be thrilled about it.
Oh, I wouldn't be thrilled about it either. I mean, talk about a guy that's reckless with the football. Holy hell, Zach Wilson. He loves to give the ball to the other team, but he would be the one I think that has potential. Tyrod Taylor, Joe Flacco, Jimmy G, that would be hilarious, but that'll never happen because he hated his guts by the time he left. Mitchell Trubisky, Trey Lance, dare I say?
Full circle.
Wouldn't that
there's a lot of old quarterbacks on this list.
Yeah, Carson Wentz. I mean, he'd be coming off an injury. Teddy Two Gloves, Gardner Minshew. I mean, it's not the craziest thing in the world, to be honest with you, that the Niners, let's say they got like Minnesota, right? Because I don't think Mac Jones fits with every team. But a team like Minnesota, I think he does fit with. J.J. McCarthy looks like, what is he? Get Mac Jones in there, put him with O'Connell. Maybe Minnesota would be willing to give up some draft capital for that.
I mean, they might be. They're in a difficult spot. I think they probably regret moving on from Sam Darnold. So, yeah, I mean, there's quarterback needy teams every offseason. The Jets, who knows? I don't know, but I think there's going to be teams that would be interested in Mac Jones. But it'll be up to the 49ers to decide, again, the value of him being on this team just in case the worst happens and Brock Purdy's unavailable and you have to throw Mac Jones in there versus a draft pick that could be anything, as we say.
So anyway, Mayoko brought it up when he was talking with Larry Kay today. So that's why we were talking about backup quarterbacks. Obviously, there's a long way to go before we get there, Steph. Let's talk about the starting quarterback. Do we think it's going to be Brock Purdy this week? Because I thought he was never going to come back. And then all of a sudden, we heard everybody in the national media saying there's a quarterback controversy brewing in San Francisco. And then Jay Glazer pops up, football groundhog Jay Glazer, with his 3 stories that he drops per year and says, Brock Purdy's expected to be back next week. And it was like, wait, what? So I don't know what's happening. We know Brock is from Arizona. They're in Arizona. Do you think we see 13?
I don't know. And I only say that because, Kyle Shanahan did say they want to see 3 full aggressive practices from Brock Purdy before putting him out there. And listen, there are no rush to get him back out there because Mac Jones has been playing pretty well in his place so far. So I don't think there's necessarily a quarterback controversy, but I think Mac Jones has just done enough where you don't need to rush him back. So I don't think he comes back just because, at least this week, just because he hasn't gotten those full practices yet. Now, if we hear Wednesday that he's a full participant, that, of course, changes some things. But it's going to be a day-to-day thing because Kyle also said we want to hear from him how he feels after each practice and that he feels good after each one. So it's not just Wednesday, okay, we're good to go. It's, evaluating him throughout the week as well and making sure that he's not feeling any sort of setback or discomfort and that you feel confident that he could play on Sunday and not make this any worse, and you can ride him the rest of the season, right? So I'm not thinking that it's going to be this week, but I do expect that the 49ers are going to milk the gamemanship thing as they've been doing. He's going to get limited practices in. Kyle Shanahan's going to say he has a chance this week. He could be the backup again, like all this stuff we've heard for the last few weeks. And then, boom, Sunday, he's inactive again. But, if he's getting closer, listen, Rob, we've been hearing that he's been getting closer for like 4 weeks now, right? I guess that's some progress. If he's getting closer, then I'd be looking at the following week then against the Panthers. It's a Monday game as well, Monday night. So that could be a better spot for him to play. And also it's a home game, so.
All I know is Joe Burrow got turf toe, had the surgery, and he's now back practicing in the limited fashion for Cincinnati. Brock Purdy, we were told, doesn't need surgery. It was a much more mild injury. And what? And Kyle essentially admitted after the game that they brought him back too early, against the Jaguars. And he ended up re-injuring it.
But I think that's maybe partially, on Brock Purdy because, look, we know the kind of guy he is. He wants to be out there. He was maybe downplaying it and felt that he felt good enough that he could go out there, but maybe not having dealt with the turf toe injury before, doesn't know the severity of what he's dealing with here, how finicky this injury could be. So yeah, probably against better advice. Maybe he went out there and they felt good based on his word. But he also didn't play very well in that game because he wasn't able to plant even his foot fully, right? That he was sailing some passes, just some uncharacteristic inaccuracies from him. So you could kind of see it right away. I would have, I think that ruined everything for the 49ers. And yeah, it would be kind of ironically funny, not actually funny, but ironically funny if Joe Burrow comes back before Brock Purdy does.
And remember, we thought Brock was coming back, right? Before they played Atlanta, it was like, oh, he's going to come back next week. And then he went on the field before the Falcons game and he tested it. And then he felt a lot of pain is what I think Diana Rossini said. I don't know. She didn't say re-injured, but he felt a lot of pain afterwards. And then all of a sudden it was like, nope, tap the brakes again. We're not going to see Brock Purdy. I know he wants to play. I'm sure he wants to play. This is a guy that came back in, 2023 when his arm was basically hanging off of his body. He was still rehabbing his arm till Thanksgiving, but he was in the starting lineup because he didn't want to give anybody else a chance to take that job away from him. Vish brought up something yesterday, Steph. I'll ask you. Vish thinks that the Niners have not put Brock on IR because Kyle Shanahan thinks that he should be playing through it because we were told it was a grade 1 turf toe injury. Other quarterbacks have played through it. Patrick Mahomes played through it and then had surgery in the offseason. Vish thinks that maybe Kyle thinks, hey, Brock, you need to get out on the field. You should be playing through this. We're paying you $50 million. We need you out there.
That's interesting. I do think Kyle does get really frustrated with recurring injuries for his quarterback because I do feel like it does give him maybe some PTSD of the whole Jimmy Garoppolo situation. And that was not fun for Kyle Shanahan to work through, right? So maybe there's some of that frustration. But I think, Rob, it still goes back to the misinformation that I think Kyle is getting on these injuries within the building. And again, speculating, but also not, because the reason, and Kyle has said this, that they didn't put Brock Purdy or Ricky Pearsall on IR with designation to return when their injuries happened after that week 4 game, right? Or, I guess for Brock even sooner than that, was because they thought they'd be back sooner than those 4 weeks that they would need to be on IR, right? So that's a huge concern. And why I think it's probably pissed Kyle Shanahan off even further was because they needed those roster spots so bad that time.
Yeah.
So bad. Like in the worst way. And in hindsight, to think, man, this whole time we could have just put them on IR and we could have gotten 2 roster spots when we really needed it. Like, yeah, just adds insult to injury. And yeah, I think more so it's just the timeline stuff and the information they've gotten has not been good. I'm continuing to stick with that.
I want to see him play again. Like, and the thing you mentioned too with Kyle, like the game plans that Kyle has for Mac are different than the game plans Kyle has for Brock. So I think it is stressful for Kyle when he's got to like, oh, okay, we got Mac. We know we got to do a lot more quick stuff, and it's different than when Brock Purdy's in there. We know that Brock tends to hunt the deeper passes a little more, for better or worse. So it is, it is a lot of work for Kyle Shanahan, depending on who's going to be in there. And then it's like, all right, Brock is back. Okay, good. All right, but now the toe flared up again, and now he can't play. And now we got to put Mac Jones in there, and now Mac Jones has to run the Brock Purdy game plan, and that it could be a dicey situation too. So there's a lot of uncertainty there, and they have to win this game this week, Steph. They have to beat the Cardinals.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's where we could end this show, right? Because I think this week 10 game against the Rams, given all the injuries, I think you figure it was going to be an uphill battle for the 49ers to begin with. Fine, but you look at these next 3 games at the Cardinals, then at home against Carolina, then against the Browns. Browns have a really good defense, one that the 49ers struggle with, Kyle Shanahan struggles with, but their offense is awful. So you do still think there's a bit of a chance there, although they are playing in Cleveland too. And then you got the bye week. But you look at those 3 games and you do see them as winnable, certainly more winnable than, that Rams game of Sunday was, right? And if you win these 3 games, then now you're cooking. You feel like you're still in a pretty good position to be able to slip into the playoffs. So, yeah, all these 3 games coming up are huge for the 49ers and any chance that they have, because you are ending the season with a pretty, I would say, tough stretch. So these 3 and then the game against the Titans, they all should be must wins. And the communication from what 49ers are saying so far, like they started the season 3-0, and then from there they've lost, they won, they've lost, they've won every week since then. They need more continuity. They need to not do this flip-flopping, and they need to win these next 3 games.
Got to stack wins, as they say, right? Well, you can't be doing that if you're alternating wins and losses. I thought it was interesting that Kendrick Bourne basically said the Niners don't respond well after wins. Christian McCaffrey said the same thing. Like, I don't know what team you guys think you are, but you should not be getting too full of yourselves after a win, especially some of the very close nature of the 49ers wins early this year. I was stunned to hear Kendrick Bourne say it, and even more surprised to hear Christian McCaffrey confirm it.
Like, how is this team, with all of the injuries they're dealing with, feeling too high about themselves after a win? Like, really? Really? I mean, I don't like that mindset. I don't know what the communication is in the locker room, and I'm not speculating on it, but yeah, that's definitely something that needs to change. I think they need to be humble and hungry every single week going forward if they want to get back to winning multiple games in a row.
I said it before the year. This team needs to be the hunter, because they are not the hunted anymore. They are not the team that, everyone's looking to beat. They're the team where people are like, hey, the 49ers, that's a winnable game. Like, the Niners have to be in attack mode all the time. And hopefully now maybe the lesson has sunk in. But, God, they need to turn it on, as you pointed out. And we will see what happens over the next 3-4 games. It's going to dramatically shape the rest of the 49ers season. That's going to do it for this edition of the show. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for everybody watching on the vertical stream on YouTube as well. I know sometimes it doesn't look pretty. We'll get the kinks worked out, I promise you, but trying something new here. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you're new to the channel, like this video, subscribe, tell a friend. That'd be cool too. Leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Pods. That really, really helps us. But we do appreciate everybody. Appreciate all the YouTube channel members as well. Steph has a YouTube channel, Steph49K. You should subscribe to that one too. It'll make you a better, smarter fan. Steph, thanks for letting me pinch hit on your show.
I guess.
Goodbye.